What's going on, guys? This is Greg Ferris back here at Ferris for Fitness, and this is going to be another question and answer video. I literally just did one like 30 seconds ago. It kind of turned into a vlog of mine, but this one's going to be a little bit more informative. The topic is going to be reverse dieting, and I originally got the question from, my computer's being a little slow. I apologize to whoever asked this question. I've been having some problems with my camera and whatnot the past few days, but excuse me, I think this is going to be good to go here. So anyways, whoever this was, I'll get to it when it comes up. Just asked me about, he shot me a message on Facebook. It was Ryan, just showed up. Shot me a message on YouTube, and just said, congratulations on your conditioning and your show, and gave me a whole bunch of compliments, and thank you, Ryan, for all of those kind words. And then he just kind of asked me, okay, what's next? Are you going to just, eat whatever you want and get all, put on a whole bunch of body fat and whatever, or are you going to kind of reverse diet? And I know I had a video up a few weeks ago, I guess, about reverse dieting and things like that. So he wanted a little bit more explanation on reverse dieting, and I'm going to try to keep this as concise as possible, as informative as possible, give you some quick recommendations, also lead you to some resources, but it's really difficult to just summarize reverse dieting, a 5-10 minute video, but I'm just going to kind of hit the most important points. So I wanted to break this down to kind of two scenarios because I think it's important. So to define reverse dieting, when you think of dieting, the definition of diet is actually what you eat, but when you think of dieting, you think of people losing weight, which is exactly what I did for my show. It took me about 24 weeks to lose, 30 to 35-ish pounds. So yeah, that was my dieting phase. And essentially, after the fact, after you lose weight, you definitely just don't want to, go back on whatever kind of eating pattern you were on when you were, say, like my case, 180 or 185 or whatever. I didn't want to just jump my calories back up there, because obviously I'm just going to put on a whole bunch of excess body fat. So the thought process behind reverse dieting is just like how you would little by little take out calories, take out fat, take out carbs, whatever you want to manipulate, just how you would take them out, or add cardio in to get a greater fat loss. You essentially just do the opposite thing. So my plan, starting, I think this is my 3rd or 4th week after my show. My plan originally was just, I think we started off at 50 grams of fat, 200 grams of carbohydrate, and 200 grams of protein. Dropped protein a little bit since we upped carbs, and I'm not really in a huge deficit, probably not even in a deficit anymore. So protein doesn't need to be as high as when it was when I was in a large deficit during prep and trying to hold on to muscle. But essentially what you should try to do is, it's pretty simple. Add in those calories back in slowly, and depending on what your goal is as far as how much body fat you want to gain with that muscle, you can kind of determine how fast or slow you want to do that. So I'm just going to give you myself as an example. This isn't a black and white thing. This isn't a cookie cutter thing. This is just an example. Let me reiterate that. So say I started my reverse diet at 50 grams of fat, 200 grams of carbs, 200 grams of protein. Essentially, after a week, if I gained the necessary weight that I wanted, which is about 2 to 3 pounds a month, which is what I'm shooting for. If you're on pace, if you gain the weight that you're supposed to, just leave those numbers where they are. Again, cardio, the same thing. We have a set cardio schedule. Leave that cardio where it is. Say if you gained a half a pound that week and that was your goal, leave it where it is, okay? But say if I lost weight that week, which actually did happen 2 weeks ago, just gradually increase it, and I would say by 5 grams of carbohydrate, or 5 grams of fat and 25 grams of carbohydrate. And then you essentially just stick with those numbers. So in this scenario, it would be 55 grams of fat, 225 carb, 200 protein, and you just say if you lost weight again, you increase it. If you gain your necessary weight, keep those numbers there, keep cardio where it's at. You can also do the same thing. You can just keep your numbers the same and then just decrease cardio. However you want to do that, just make sure it's very, very gradual. Like I said, 5 grams of fat, 25 grams of protein. If you wanted to do it just from cutting off cardio, I would say maybe like if you were doing 5 days a week of 30 minutes, do 5 days a week of 25 minutes. So overall that would be 25 minutes less of cardio. You could also just like maybe chop one cardio session off, so you're just doing 4 days a week of 30 minutes. Whatever you want to kind of manipulate it, the fact of the matter, what you need to understand is, again, how quickly you decrease cardio and increase calories is going to be determined on A, your weight, and you can also go by mirror. So, and B, how much fat gain you want to have with your gains. If you really don't care, then you know you can increase things quicker. Like, I'm not going to compete for many years. I'm not trying to stay within 5 to 10 pounds of my stage weight, so I can get away with a little more surplus, a little quicker reverse diet, as opposed to someone who, you know, wants to compete in 6 months. So it's going to be on an individual basis. And the last point I wanted to make is that it's also going to determine how quickly you want to reverse diet on how severe your diet was. If you're taking me for an example, I would assume that I was about sub 5% body fat, which was pretty severe thing. My metabolism slowed down, my resting energy expenditure slowed down. So all of that thing is working against me. I want to store fat. So if you take someone who gets really lean like that, leptin's low, you know, I'm not going to go into all specifics, but you're just in a bad scenario for staying lean and losing muscle and all those things. So you want to take things slowly, and that's what I'm doing, so I don't put on a lot of fat gain, because you're so primed for fat gain the leaner and leaner you get. If you take someone who maybe they were 275 and they lost 50 pounds and now they're at, you know, 225 and they're at 17-18% body fat, the damage that they probably didn't cause much damage to the metabolism and whatnot. So they would still want to reverse diet if you want to add muscle. You know, still do it slowly, still go by half a pound a week. That's what I would kind of, you know, a good number to shoot for, which would be 2 pounds a month, you know, determining on your age and all of those things. There's a million different factors, but just a general recommendation of 2 pounds a month is pretty good. You would still want to do that, but they could probably increase things a little quicker. Again, it's not black and white, but those are my recommendations. So, to Ryan, here are my suggestions to you. You said you just came off a cut similar to mine. Unless you competed, I highly doubt that. But regardless, if you lost your weight, first of all, be honest with yourself of how lean you are. If you're sub 15%, you can go on a bulk. I would say if you're not sub 15%, you should probably just keep cutting. But I'm not, you know, I'm not your coach. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just being honest with you. But if you do want to bulk, take your current macros. Hopefully you are counting macros. Take your current macros. I would just leave cardio where it's at. Take your current macros, add 5 grams of fat, add 5 grams of carbohydrate, or 25 grams of carbohydrate, leave protein where it's at, and see how your weight reacts. Also, another point I should have made, strength gains. After you've lost quite a bit of weight like I have, like I said, 30 to 35 pounds, strength gains can also be a huge indicator of where you should have your calories at. If, for instance, my strength's been pretty good these last few weeks, I've only put on about 3 pounds since my show, but I'm at about, my current macros are 50 to 60 grams of fat, 300 carb, 200 protein, and I'm going to keep those numbers there. You know, I'm slightly adding weight, and my strength is through the roof. So again, there's no need for me to increase calories. You shouldn't just increase calories for the sake of increasing calories. Go on a need-to basis. So once I stop gaining weight at these macros, and if I stop my strength gains, then I'll add food in. But I'm not just going to add food in to add food in. So that's my recommendation for you, Ryan. If you did come off a long cut, make sure you gradually increase mostly carbohydrate and fat. Be honest with yourself how lean you are. Be honest with yourself as far as what your goals are. Like I said, if you don't really care about how much fat you gain, you can reverse diet quicker. And if you want to stay relatively lean, you're going to have to do it at just a smaller pace. again, I would say 2 pounds a month is pretty good. So if I missed anything, Ryan, I apologize. Feel free to hit me up with another message. I may just like, type it out to you if I missed anything. I'll also link to some other videos and articles because there's just so much information out there. Again, I don't know all the answers. These are just my suggestions for you. So there you go, Ryan. And I wanted to post this up on my channel as well. If anyone else has questions about reverse dieting, really not that complicated. It's just the reverse of what you did. You're obviously going to have to go a little bit slower with muscle gain as you do with fat. You can lose, I lost about 1 pound to 1.5 pounds a week. You don't want to go 1 pound and 1.5 pounds of muscle gain, but essentially it's the same thing. Just adding calories as you need, decreasing the cardio as you need, and again, it's on an individual basis. That's a really big thing people need to understand, so don't take my numbers for okay, I'm going to do this. It's on an individual basis based on your strength and based on your weight gain and your goals. So that's it on my take on reverse dieting. Hopefully, I really wanted just to put this out there for Ryan, and if other people can get something out of this, that's good as well. So thank you guys for watching. I will have more good information coming soon. Make sure to like the video. Check out my Fairs for Fitness Facebook page if you'd like. And that's it, guys. Have a good night.